My girlfriend Megan betrayed me yesterday. She posted ultrasound photos on social media with my name as the father, even though I had a vasectomy 3 years ago. The ultimate betrayal reborn in digital permanence. Her lie now shared, liked, and congratulated by everyone we know. I stare at the screen, my thumb hovering over her post. 67 likes, 23 comments, all variations of congratulations and "you're going to be amazing parents." The room spins slightly as blood rushes to my head. The faint whirring of my laptop fan grows louder, a mechanical heartbeat counting the seconds of my shock. "Alex, I was going to tell you tonight at dinner." Megan's voice comes from behind me. I didn't hear her come in. I wanted it to be special, not like this. I turn slowly, facing the woman I've loved for 5 years. Her blonde hair cascades over her shoulders, her hand resting on her stomach in that universal gesture of expectant mothers. A gesture that's impossible with my seed. "Tell me what, exactly?" I ask, my voice unnaturally calm. "That I'm magically a father despite my vasectomy? Or that you've been cheating on me?" Her face crumples, tears forming instantly. Megan has always been able to cry on command. A talent I once found endearing during our movie nights when she'd sob at even the mildest emotional scenes. Now I wonder how many of her tears have been performance. "It's not like that," she whispers, reaching for my hand. I flinch away. "The doctor said sometimes vasectomies can reverse naturally. It's rare, but it happens." I almost laugh. "And you believed that without questioning it? Without telling me this medical miracle happened to me?" The truth crashes over me in waves. Our agreement when we first got serious feels like a distant dream now. We had sat on my balcony, the night air cool against our skin, and talked about our future. I told her about my family's genetic history, the rare hereditary disease that claimed my father at 42 and had a 50% chance of being passed to any biological children I might have. The genetic counselor had been blunt but compassionate. I could have children, but the risk was substantial. Megan had squeezed my hand then, her voice resolute. "I don't need biological children to be happy. We can adopt or use a donor, or just be the coolest aunt and uncle ever." She had kissed me, tasting faintly of the red wine we'd been drinking. "I love you, not some hypothetical baby." Now she stands before me, pregnant with someone else's child while claiming it's mine. "Who is it?" I ask. "What? Who is the father?" Each word feels like glass in my throat. Her eyes dart away, a tell I've come to recognize when she's about to lie. "You are, Alex. I swear. It must have been when—" "Stop." I hold up my hand. "Just stop." I grab my keys and wallet, needing to escape the suddenly suffocating apartment. The leather of my wallet feels rough against my fingertips, grounding me as I try to think clearly. Outside, the autumn air is crisp, carrying the scent of wood smoke from someone's fireplace. I breathe deeply, trying to wash the bitter taste of betrayal from my mouth. My phone buzzes with notifications. Friends congratulating me on the pregnancy announcement that blindsided me. I switch it to silent and start walking with no destination in mind. 3 weeks later, I find myself at our joint baby shower. A surreal experience I agreed to attend only to keep appearances while I figure out my next steps. The event hall is decorated in soft yellows and greens. Gender neutral, Megan had insisted. Lilies, her favorite flower, adorn every table, their sickeningly sweet fragrance thick in the air, cloying and inescapable like her lies. I watch from across the room as she accepts congratulations, her hand always protectively cradling her stomach. My mother, so thrilled to finally have a grandchild, fusses over her, adjusting pillows behind her back and making sure her plate is never empty. Dude, you look like you're at a funeral instead of a baby shower, comes a voice beside me. Ryan, my best friend since college, patting my shoulder with a familiarity that suddenly makes my skin crawl. Just tired, I reply, taking a sip of the non-alcoholic punch. It's too sweet, like everything else about this charade. Ryan sits beside me, his expensive cologne momentarily overpowering the lily scent. It's a lot to take in, huh? You're going to be a dad. He says it with a strange emphasis, watching my face carefully. Something about his expression triggers a memory. 2 months ago, I'd walked into my apartment and caught the tail end of a hushed conversation between Ryan and Megan. They'd jumped apart, looking guilty, but claimed they were planning a surprise birthday party for me. I'd believed them. My birthday had come and gone without any party. Yeah, I reply, forcing a smile. Quite the surprise. Ryan fidgets with his watch, a nervous habit he's had since I've known him. The best kind, though, right? Sometimes the unexpected things are the greatest gifts. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. As Ryan moves away to mingle, I pull out my phone and, on a hunch, open Megan's tablet that she'd left on the chair beside me. We know each other's passwords, or at least I thought we did until today. Hers still works. I open her messages, something I've never done before. Trust had always been our foundation. Or so I thought. It takes less than 5 minutes to find the thread between her and Ryan. Messages going back months, plans, deception, love declarations, and confirmation of what I already suspected. Ryan is the father. We'll tell him after the first trimester. He'll be hurt, but he'll come around. Alex always does the right thing. What if he wants a paternity test? He won't. He trusts me completely. And by the time the baby's born, he'll be too attached to care. I screenshot everything, sending the evidence to my own phone before carefully replacing her tablet exactly as I found it. The plastic case feels cool against my suddenly burning fingers. Across the room, Megan laughs at something my sister says, her hand intertwined with Ryan's in a gesture that would seem friendly to anyone who didn't know what I now know. My heart pounds in my ears, drowning out the cheerful baby shower music. I stand up, my legs steadier than I expected. This quiet collection of evidence is my first countermove in a game I never wanted to play. The rules are changing, but I refuse to be the only one who loses. We need to talk about the medical bills, Megan says, sliding a stack of papers across our kitchen table toward me. 1 month has passed since the baby shower, and I've been sleeping in the guest bedroom, claiming work stress, and not wanting to disturb her pregnancy sleep. The morning sunlight streams through our kitchen windows, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air between us. The coffee in my mug has grown cold, bitter like the words I swallow daily. What about them? I ask, not reaching for the papers. Megan sighs dramatically, the sound grating against my nerves. The insurance is rejecting some of the prenatal care because of network issues. We need to pay these out of pocket. I glance at the total circled in red, nearly $4,000. And her eyes narrow slightly. And we need to pay them, Alex. This is your child too. The lie hangs between us, as tangible as the morning light. I've said nothing about what I discovered at the baby shower, choosing instead to gather more evidence while planning my exit strategy. I've consulted a lawyer specializing in paternity fraud, moved half our savings to a private account, and started looking for a new apartment. I thought your parents were helping with the medical expenses, I say carefully. Megan fidgets with her coffee mug, the ceramic scraping against the wooden table. They are with some, but they can't cover everything. We're the parents, Alex. This is our responsibility. Our responsibility. The audacity nearly makes me laugh. I'll transfer the money today, I say, keeping my voice neutral. What I don't tell her is that this will be documented as evidence of financial fraud when I eventually take legal action. Thank you. She reaches across the table to squeeze my hand, her palm slightly damp with nervousness. And don't forget we have the appointment with Dr. Brennan tomorrow at 2. The anatomy scan. We might find out the gender. I nod, already knowing I'll be there. Not for the reasons she thinks, but because I need to see what paperwork she's filed with the doctor's office. My name as the father on medical records would constitute another level of fraud. The next day at the clinic, the antiseptic smell hits me immediately as we walk through the sliding glass doors. It triggers an unexpected memory of my vasectomy procedure 3 years ago. The same sterile scent, the same nervous flutter in my stomach, but for entirely different reasons. Back then, I was taking control of my genetic destiny. Now, I'm being manipulated into claiming someone else's child. Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds? The receptionist calls with a smile. We're not married, but Megan doesn't correct her. I need to use the restroom, I tell Megan. You go ahead and start the paperwork. She nods, distracted by her phone. Probably texting Ryan, I realize with a sickening twist in my gut. Instead of heading to the restroom, I approach another receptionist. Excuse me, I need to update my contact information for your records. Could I see what you currently have on file? The woman looks momentarily confused, but then smiles. Of course. Name? Alexander Reynolds. My partner Megan Wallace just checked in for her ultrasound. After verifying my identity, she pulls up the records on her computer. Everything looks current, Mr. Reynolds. We have your cell phone, home address, insurance information. She scrolls through. And you're listed as the father on the birth certificate pre-registration forms. My heart pounds, but I keep my expression neutral. Perfect, thank you. I rejoin Megan in the waiting room, where she's already completed several forms. Everything okay? She asks, not looking up. Fine, I reply, taking the seat beside her. The vinyl chair squeaks beneath me, unnaturally loud in the quiet waiting room. I glance at the clipboard in her lap. Father's medical history, family genetic conditions, all filled out with my information, including the hereditary condition I could pass to biological children. The condition that led to my vasectomy. The condition that makes her lie not just a betrayal, but a cruel mockery of my deepest fears. You filled out my medical history, I observe, keeping my voice conversational. She hands me the clipboard. I wasn't sure about some of it. Can you check it? I take it from her, our fingers brushing in a contact that once would have sent warmth through me, but now leaves me cold. I pretend to review the form while covertly taking photos of each page with my phone. Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds? A nurse appears at the doorway. We're ready for you. During the ultrasound, I watch Megan's face more than the screen. Her eyes shine with tears as the technician points out tiny hands and feet. I wonder if Ryan has seen these images, if they've shared this moment in secret while planning how to trap me. Would you like to know the gender? The technician asks with a smile. Megan looks at me, a perfect performance of a woman sharing a special moment with her baby's father. Do we want to know, honey? I shrug. Whatever you want. Let's wait, she decides. I want it to be a surprise. Afterward, as we walk to the parking lot, Megan chatters excitedly about nursery colors and name ideas. The sun beats down on the asphalt, releasing waves of heat that shimmer in the distance. My shirt sticks to my back, uncomfortable like the role I'm being forced to play. I've been thinking, I say as we reach her car. I should start setting up a nursery at my place too, for when the baby stays with me. Megan freezes, key half inserted in the door lock. What do you mean, your place? I'm looking at apartments, I say, the half-truth coming easily. I think we need some space, at least until the baby comes, to figure things out. Panic flashes across her face. You can't leave me now, I'm pregnant. I'm not leaving you or the baby, I lie smoothly. I just need some space to adjust. This was unexpected. Her eyes narrow, calculating. I can almost see her weighing her options, deciding which emotional appeal might work best. She settles on vulnerability, her shoulders slumping as she leans against the car. Please don't do this, Alex. I need you. The baby needs you. A tear slides down her cheek, perfectly timed. Everyone already thinks we're doing this together. What will they say if you move out now? And there it is, her real concern. Appearances, the narrative she's carefully constructing. I'll still be involved, I assure her, playing along. I'll come to appointments, help prepare. I just need my own space right now. 2 days later, I sign a 6-month lease on a small apartment across town and move essential belongings while Megan is at her mother's house. That evening, my phone explodes with notifications. Megan has posted again, a tearful video about how overwhelmed and grateful she feels, how I'm excited about the baby but working so hard to provide that I'm missing appointments. The comments flood in. Sympathy for her, criticism for me, her audience of friends and family rallying around the pregnant woman seemingly abandoned by her partner. I watch the performance with detached fascination, recognizing the calculated nature of each word, each carefully timed tear. This is the second betrayal. Not just lying about the baby's paternity, but actively villainizing me to create public pressure that will make it harder for me to leave. My thumb hovers over the comment button on her original Ultrasound post, the one that started everything. I type a simple response. #donor? It's cryptic enough that most won't immediately understand, but it plants the first seed of doubt. My quiet countermove in this public chess game she's initiated. The responses are immediate. Confusion, questions. Megan herself asking what I mean. I don't elaborate. The question mark hanging in the digital space between us is enough for now. That night, the persistent buzz of incoming messages vibrates against my new nightstand. I turn my phone face down, the screen casting a blue glow against unfamiliar walls. The new apartment smells of fresh paint and emptiness, clean and uncontaminated by lies. I breathe deeply, feeling more at peace than I have in weeks. Tomorrow will bring more fallout, but tonight I've finally taken back a small measure of control. The pounding on my door starts at 7:18 a.m. Not knocking, pounding, with the flat of a fist, designed to intimidate. I know who it is before I check the peephole. Ryan stands in the hallway, his face flushed with anger, fist raised to strike the door again. I open it mid-swing, causing him to stumble slightly. "What the hell was that comment supposed to mean?" he demands, pushing past me into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. I close the door calmly, taking my time. "Good morning to you too, Ryan." He paces my small living room like a caged animal, the heavy cologne he always wears filling the confined space, making it hard to breathe. Through the open window, I can hear his car stereo still running, the bass thumping rhythmically, vibrating through my chest even from 4 floors up. The physical intrusion of his music mirrors his presence in my life, unwanted, overpowering. "You need to delete that comment and apologize to Megan," he says, jabbing a finger in my direction. "She was up all night crying, worried what people will think." I lean against the wall, arms crossed. "Interesting that you're the one here confronting me about it, not her." Ryan freezes momentarily, then resumes pacing. "She's too upset. I'm looking out for her because you clearly aren't." "And why is that your concern exactly?" I ask, watching his reaction carefully. His eyes dart away from mine. She's my friend too, Alex, and you're being a complete asshole about this pregnancy. Am I? I move to the kitchen counter and pour myself a cup of coffee, deliberately not offering him one. The ceramic mug warms my palms as I wrap both hands around it. Tell me, Ryan, does Megan's friendship usually involve you fathering her children? The color drains from his face so quickly it's almost comical. What are you talking about? I know, Ryan. I take a sip of coffee, maintaining eye contact over the rim of the mug. I've known since the baby shower. His shock quickly morphs into something more calculated. He straightens, squaring his shoulders. You're delusional. The stress is making you paranoid. I saw the texts, I say simply. All of them. Your plans, your little scheme to pass off your baby as mine. His expression hardens. You invaded her privacy? Checked her phone? That's really low, Alex. I almost laugh at the audacity. That's what you're concerned about? Not the fact that you impregnated my girlfriend and tried to trick me into raising your child? Ryan runs a hand through his hair, his breathing ragged. Then his demeanor changes completely. The panic subsides, replaced by cold determination. Listen to me very carefully, he says, his voice quiet but menacing. No one will believe you. We've been together 5 years. You've had a vasectomy that you never told anyone about except her. Everyone will think you're making this up because you can't accept your own child. I raise an eyebrow. Is that so? And if you pursue this, I'll make sure everyone at Reynolds Biotech knows about your family's genetic condition, he continues. How do you think the board will feel about a research director who might drop dead at any moment from a hereditary disease? The same condition you're probably passing to your child? The threat lands like a physical blow. My family's condition is manageable with monitoring and medication, but the stigma in the biomedical research field could be devastating to my career. The irony that he's threatening me with the very condition that led to my vasectomy isn't lost on me. That's your play? I ask, keeping my voice steady despite the anger burning in my chest. Threaten my career to force me to raise your child? Man up and accept your responsibility, Ryan says, moving towards the door. Delete the comment. Be there for Megan, or I'll ruin you. You've already tried, I reply quietly. After he leaves, the apartment feels contaminated by his presence. I open all the windows despite the morning chill, desperate to clear the air of his cologne and threats. My hands tremble slightly as I check my phone. Text after text from Megan, alternating between anger and tearful pleas. Missed calls from my mother, my sister, her parents. The comment has clearly ignited exactly the firestorm I expected. I open my banking app to transfer some money for groceries, and freeze. The joint savings account Megan and I maintained, the one containing over $38,000 for a house down payment we'd been saving for, shows a balance of $126.47. I call the bank immediately, my heart pounding in my ears. The customer service representative confirms what I already suspect. A withdrawal of $37,500 was made yesterday afternoon by Megan for baby expenses. The third betrayal hits harder than I expected. The calculated timing, immediately after my #donor comment, reveals how quickly she moved to secure financial assets once she sensed I might expose the truth. I end the call and sit heavily on my couch, the leather cool against my palms as I lean forward, head in my hands. The morning sun casts long shadows across my sparse new living space, marking the passage of time as I consider my options. Later that afternoon, Ryan unexpectedly returns to collect a jacket he'd left behind. I offer him water, which he accepts warily. As he sets the empty glass down, I casually pick it up, claiming I'll wash it. Instead, it goes into an evidence bag once he leaves. A DNA sample acquired without his knowledge. My second quiet countermove. The next 3 days bring an escalating campaign from Megan's side. Her parents call incessantly, their voicemails growing increasingly hostile. The constant vibration of my phone creates a persistent anxiety that follows me everywhere. At work, I struggle to concentrate, the familiar lab environment suddenly feeling foreign and unsafe after Ryan's threats. "Alex, you need to see this," my research assistant says one morning, sliding her phone across the lab bench toward me. Megan has posted again, a professionally taken photograph of her cradling her baby bump, standing in what was supposed to be our nursery. The caption is a masterpiece of manipulation. "No matter what happens, I'll always tell you about your father's brilliance, his kindness, how much you look like him. Some journeys don't follow the path we expect, but you are loved beyond measure." The comments are filled with supportive messages and thinly veiled criticism of my apparent abandonment. The narrative is solidifying in exactly the way she and Ryan planned. That evening, I'm summoned to a family dinner at my mother's house. "To talk some sense into you," my sister explains bluntly over the phone. "Mom's worried sick about what's happening." I agree to attend, knowing this confrontation is inevitable. The familiar scent of my mother's lasagna fills the house as I enter, a comfort food she always prepares during family crises. The dining room table is set for 4. My mother, my sister, Megan, and me. Megan sits with her hands folded protectively over her stomach, playing the role of wounded, expectant mother perfectly. My mother fusses around her, refilling her water glass, adjusting the cushion behind her back. My sister glares at me from across the table. "I think it's time you explained yourself," my mother says as she takes her seat. "That horrible comment moving out on Megan during her pregnancy. This isn't how we raised you, Alex." I take a deep breath, the rich aroma of tomato sauce and melted cheese suddenly cloying. "I have something important to tell all of you," I begin, my voice steadier than I expected. "Something I should have shared years ago." Megan's eyes widen slightly, a flicker of panic crossing her features. 3 years ago, I had a vasectomy, I say simply. The silence that follows is absolute. My mother's fork clatters against her plate. My sister's mouth drops open. Megan's face drains of color, her fingers clutching her water glass so tightly I fear it might shatter. "That's not possible," she finally whispers. "It is," I continue calmly. "After genetic counseling confirmed I carried the same condition that killed Dad, I made the decision not to risk passing it to children. Megan knew this. We agreed together that if we wanted children, we would adopt or use a donor." My mother turns to Megan, confusion written across her face. "Is this true?" Megan trembles visibly now, tears forming in her eyes. He must be lying. The doctors confirmed the pregnancy. They said sometimes vasectomies can reverse. Spontaneous reversal occurs in less than 1% of cases, I state, slipping into the clinical language that comes naturally after years in medical research, and is usually accompanied by symptoms I haven't experienced. More importantly, it doesn't explain why Ryan is listed as the emergency contact on your latest prenatal forms, or why you've been texting him about how to keep this secret from me. I place printed copies of the text messages on the table. My sister reaches for them first, scanning them with widening eyes before passing them wordlessly to my mother. "Alex," Megan pleads, reaching for my hand across the table. I pull away before she can touch me. "It was a mistake. I was confused, lonely when you were working those long hours." "Stop," my mother says, her voice sharp as she continues reading the messages. "Just stop, Megan." For the first time since this began, I feel a sense of validation wash over me. The truth, finally exposed in this small circle, is just the beginning. Megan pushes back from the table suddenly, chair legs scraping harshly against the hardwood floor. "I need air," she mumbles, rushing from the room. The front door slams moments later. My mother reaches across the table and grips my hand, her palm warm and familiar against mine. "I'm so sorry," she whispers. "We had no idea." The relief of being believed nearly undoes me. I squeeze her hand in return, allowing myself this moment of connection before the harder conversations that must follow. Outside, I hear Megan's car start and peel away from the curb. She's running, but there's nowhere left to hide from the truth. "I need access to the advanced genetics lab this weekend," I tell Dr. Harmon, the research director at Reynolds Biotech, where I've spent the last 7 years developing genetic testing protocols. He glances up from his computer, eyebrows raised. "The BD5 project deadline isn't for another 3 weeks. "It's not for BD5, I admit, closing his office door for privacy. The leather chair creaks beneath me as I sit across from him. Outside, rain patters against the window, creating a soothing rhythm that belies the tension in my shoulders. "It's personal." Dr. Harmon removes his glasses, setting them carefully on his desk. "We've worked together since I completed my doctorate, developing a revolutionary maternal blood test that can identify genetic markers and paternity without amniocentesis. My contribution to the field has made the company millions and earned me considerable latitude." "Alex, you know I don't ask questions about after-hours lab use for senior researchers, but you seem—" He pauses, searching for the right word. "Troubled lately." I consider how much to reveal. Dr. Harmon is not just my boss, but a mentor, someone who championed my research when others questioned investing in a scientist with a family history of genetic disease. "I'm dealing with a personal situation that requires genetic verification," I say finally. Understanding dawns in his eyes. "The pregnancy, you need a paternity test." I nod, relieved at not having to explain further. "Use whatever resources you need," he says, sliding a security access card across the desk. "Just document everything properly for the audit logs." "Thank you." I pocket the card, the plastic warm against my fingers. The lab feels different after hours. Quieter, more intimate. The familiar chemical smell that once represented my success, my contribution to science, now promises something else. Vindication. I breathe it in deeply as I power up the equipment, the gentle hum of machines coming to life around me. I extract DNA from the water glass sample, then compare it against the prenatal blood work I've secretly retrieved from Megan's medical records through my hospital research access. The methodology I'm using, the very protocol I helped develop, allows for non-invasive prenatal paternity testing with 99.9% accuracy. Hours pass as I work methodically, the repetitive precision of lab work calming my racing thoughts. Outside, the rain has stopped, and moonlight streams through the high windows, casting the lab in ethereal blue light. By 2 a.m., I have my answer. Scientific confirmation of what I already knew. Ryan is unquestionably the father of Megan's baby. I document everything meticulously, creating an unimpeachable chain of evidence, then save multiple copies to secure servers and encrypted drives. The weight I've carried for months feels lighter now, transformed from suspicion to certainty. 2 days later, Megan appears at my apartment door, unannounced. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her usually immaculate hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. At 6 months pregnant, her belly protrudes prominently beneath her oversized sweater. "Can we talk?" she asks, her voice small. I step aside to let her in, maintaining careful distance between us. The afternoon sun streams through my windows, illuminating dust motes that dance in the space that separates us. Her perfume, the same vanilla scent she's worn since we met, triggers unwanted memories of happier times. "I've made a terrible mistake," she begins, sinking onto my couch. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to understand." I remained standing, arms crossed. "Understand what, exactly? That you cheated with my best friend? That you tried to trick me into raising his child? That you emptied our savings account?" Tears spill down her cheeks. "It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Ryan and I... It was just once, after that charity gala when you couldn't attend. I was upset. He was comforting me." She draws a shuddering breath. "When I found out I was pregnant, I panicked. I knew you'd never forgive me, that we'd be over. So you decided to lie, to pass off his child as mine." She nods miserably. "It was wrong. I know that now. But I was desperate to keep you, to keep us. I thought once the baby was born, you'd fall in love with him or her, and it wouldn't matter anymore." Her hand reaches for mine, her grip surprisingly strong, nails pressing into my palm. "I still love you, Alex. We can work through this." The earnestness in her voice almost makes me believe her. Almost. "And the savings account?" I ask, gently extracting my hand from hers. She looks away. "I was scared after your comment online. I thought you might cut me off financially. The money is safe. I transferred it to a separate account for the baby's expenses. I can move it back. What about Ryan? Does he know you're here?" Her expression hardens slightly. "Ryan is complicated. He thinks he's in love with me, but he's not ready to be a father. That's why we thought..." She trails off, realizing too late what she's admitted. "We," I repeat. "So it was a mutual plan, not a moment of panic or confusion?" Megan rises suddenly, moving toward me with desperate intensity. "It doesn't have to be over, Alex. We can still be a family. You said yourself you wanted children someday, just not biological ones because of the genetic risk. This baby has no risk of your family's condition. It could be perfect." The calculated nature of her appeal stuns me into momentary silence. Even now, knowing I'm aware of the truth, she's still manipulating, still trying to salvage her plan. "Megan," I say quietly, "I need you to leave." "Alex, please. Now." After she's gone, I sit at my computer and begin searching through old emails and financial records. A conversation with Ryan from last year catches my attention. A casual question about my family's trust fund, established by my grandfather for his grandchildren. A substantial sum, accessible only when his grandchildren have biological children of their own. A provision my grandfather included to ensure his bloodline continued, despite my arguments about the genetic risks. I had mentioned it once to Megan years ago, explaining why my mother sometimes pushed the topic of grandchildren, despite knowing my concerns. In Ryan's emails, I find subtle inquiries about the trust details, questions about my family's financial advisors, all under the guise of friendly conversation. Then, in Megan's emails to her sister, a telling line. Once the baby is born and legally established as Alex's, the trust fund conditions will be met. We'll have access to help with a house, the baby's education. The final piece clicks into place. Not just a deception born of panic or misguided love, but a calculated financial scheme targeting my family's money. The betrayal cuts deeper than I imagined possible, leaving me breathless with its scope. I close my laptop, the screen's blue light burning my tired eyes. Tomorrow is the gender reveal party Megan has insisted I attend for appearance's sake. I had planned to refuse, but now I see it as the perfect opportunity for my own revelation. The truth deserves an audience, after all. The gender reveal party is being held at an upscale venue Megan selected, a converted factory space with exposed brick walls and industrial lighting that costs more per hour than most people earn in a day. I arrive deliberately late, sliding into the crowded room as Megan's sister gives a speech about the joys of impending aunthood. Most of our social circle is here, along with colleagues from work, family members from both sides, and people I barely recognize. The room hums with anticipation, glasses clinking and conversation flowing. The scent of catered hors d'oeuvres mingles with dozens of perfumes and colognes in the warm space. Megan stands at the center of it all, radiant in a pale blue dress, her hands constantly cradling her belly. Ryan hovers nearby, playing the role of supportive friend so convincingly that anyone who didn't know better would applaud his devotion. I catch his eye across the room, and he tugs nervously at his collar, sweat beading visibly on his forehead, despite the venue's powerful air conditioning. My mother approaches, pulling me into a tight hug. "I'm glad you came," she whispers. "Whatever happens today, I'm on your side." Since the revelation at the family dinner, I've shared the full story with her, including the trust fund connection. Her support has been unwavering, her anger at the deception matching my own. "It's almost time," Megan's mother announces, directing everyone toward the large balloon box positioned at the front of the room. "Gather around for the big reveal." The crowd migrates forward, excitement building. I hang back, positioning myself near the venue's AV control panel, where I've already spoken with the technician and loaded my presentation. My pulse quickens, adrenaline sharpening my senses. Every detail seems heightened, the perspiration on Ryan's upper lip, the forced brightness of Megan's smile, the expectant hush falling over the crowd. "Alex, come join us at the front," Megan calls, her voice carrying across the room. All eyes turn to me. "We can't do this without Daddy." The performative nature of her plea makes my skin crawl, but I move forward, stopping several feet away from her and Ryan. Someone hands me a glass of champagne. "Just for the toast, not the reveal," they explain with a wink. The champagne fizzes gently against my lips, the bubbles sharp on my tongue as I take a small sip, steeling myself for what comes next. "Before we reveal the gender," I say, my voice cutting through the excited murmurs, "I'd like to say a few words." Megan's smile falters slightly. Ryan shifts his weight from one foot to the other, eyes darting towards the exit. "Actually," Megan interrupts, "let's do the reveal first and speeches after." "This won't take long," I continue, nodding to the technician. The lights dim slightly, and the large display screen behind the balloon box illuminates. "As many of you know, I work in genetic research," I begin, my voice steady. "Specifically, I develop tests that can identify paternity from maternal blood samples without invasive procedures." Confusion ripples through the crowd. Megan takes a half step toward me, panic flashing in her eyes. "Alex, what are you doing?" she hisses. I ignore her, continuing as the first slide appears on the screen. A simple diagram explaining the testing methodology. "My team's work has revolutionized prenatal genetic screening, making it safer and more accessible. The next slide shows laboratory results, anonymized but clearly showing genetic markers, statistical analyses, and a conclusion highlighted in bold. Paternity excluded for subject A. Paternity confirmed for subject B." "This is a paternity test," I explained to the increasingly uncomfortable audience. "Conducted using a protocol I helped develop. It shows with 99.9% certainty that I am not the father of Megan's baby." Gasps and whispers erupt around the room. Megan's face drains of color. "Alex, stop this right now!" Ryan steps forward, voice low and threatening. I turn to face him directly. "Would you like to explain the results, Ryan, or should I?" Before either can respond, I advance to the next slide. Screenshots of their text messages, strategically edited to highlight the most damning exchanges while protecting my own privacy. Megan and Ryan have been planning this deception for months, I continue, my voice carrying easily in the now silent room. Not just the affair, not just passing off this child as mine, but specifically targeting my family's trust fund, which requires biological heirs to access. The final slide appears. Bank records showing the transfer of our joint savings, alongside emails discussing the trust fund conditions. I have already provided all this evidence to my attorney, I conclude. I am not the father of this child. I will not be financially responsible for this child, and I will not allow my family's legacy to be stolen through fraud. As I finish speaking, I nod again to the technician who activates the balloon box. Blue smoke erupts, filling the air around Megan and Ryan, a backdrop to their public humiliation. I simultaneously press a button on my phone, posting the entire presentation online with all evidence, tagging both Megan and Ryan with a simple caption, #donor. The silence that follows is profound. Someone drops a fork against a plate, the clink abnormally loud in the still room. People reach for their phones as notifications begin to buzz, the online post spreading rapidly through our social networks. Megan's sister is the first to move, stepping away from her with visible disgust. Ryan's colleagues from work huddle together, glancing at him with undisguised shock. My mother stands tall, chin raised, her presence at my side a clear statement of where her loyalty lies. "You've ruined everything," Megan finally whispers, tears streaming down her face, smearing her carefully applied makeup. "No," I reply quietly. "You did that all on your own." I turn and walk out, leaving the chaos behind me. Outside, the evening air feels clean and fresh in my lungs, washing away months of suffocation. My phone buzzes continuously in my pocket, messages, calls, notifications. But for now, I leave them unanswered. The truth has been revealed. The rest will follow in its own time. 3 weeks after the gender reveal party, the consequences cascade through our interconnected lives like falling dominoes. Ryan is fired from Reynolds Biotech, where he held a mid-level position in the marketing department. The company's ethics committee cited violation of core values after reviewing evidence of his attempt to manipulate me and potentially compromise research integrity through his threats. The termination letter specifically mentions attempted coercion of a senior researcher, though my name is carefully omitted. I learned this from Dr. Harmon during our weekly meeting. The information delivered casually between budget discussions and project updates. The afternoon sunlight slants through his office blinds, casting striped shadows across his desk as he mentions it. "The board asked me to convey their full support," he adds, shuffling papers. "Your personal situation has no bearing on their confidence in your research leadership." Relief washes over me, cool and calming like the air conditioning against my skin. Ryan's threat to expose my family's genetic condition had weighed on me more than I'd admitted to myself. "Thank you for telling me." "It was never in question," Dr. Harmon says firmly. "Though I would appreciate a heads up next time you plan to conduct a paternity test that ends up trending on Twitter." I wince slightly. "That wasn't exactly planned." He chuckles, surprisingly understanding. "Life rarely is. Now about the BD5 funding." The conversation shifts back to work matters. The momentary acknowledgement of my personal drama closed as quickly as it opened. I'm grateful for the return to normalcy, to equations and research protocols that follow predictable patterns, unlike human relationships. That evening, I returned to my apartment to find Megan sitting on the floor outside my door. The sight of her stops me mid-stride. Her pregnancy is even more pronounced now, her body seemingly transformed in the weeks since I last saw her. Her face is bare of makeup, dark circles shadowing her eyes, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. The artificial hallway lighting casts harsh shadows across her features. She struggles to stand as I approach, one hand bracing against the wall, the other supporting her belly. The scent of her perfume, once so familiar and comforting, now turns my stomach, the vanilla notes cloying and artificial. "Please," she says simply, her voice hoarse. 5 minutes. I consider refusing, but ultimately unlock my door and gesture her inside. The principle that guided my parents' lives echoes in my mind. Hear people out, even when they've wronged you. Understanding doesn't require forgiveness. Megan enters hesitantly, taking in the apartment that now feels truly mine, furnished simply but comfortably, free of the decorative touches she would have added. No photographs, no mementos of our relationship remain visible. I've exercised her presence methodically over the past months. "You look well," she offers awkwardly, lowering herself onto the edge of my couch. "What do you want, Megan?" I remain standing, arms crossed. She draws a deep breath, her shoulders rising and falling dramatically. "I'm in trouble, Alex. Real trouble." "Financial trouble," I clarify, not a question. She nods miserably, mascara streaking down her cheeks in thin black rivulets. "The medical bills are piling up. My parents have helped some, but they're not wealthy. Ryan is—" She trails off. "Unemployed," I finish for her. "I heard." "He blames me," she whispers. "Says I ruined his life. He's drinking constantly, ignoring my calls." Her voice breaks. "He wants nothing to do with the baby." A twisted sense of irony washes over me. "So now you want my help?" "I have nowhere else to turn," she admits, her vulnerability seemingly genuine for once. "My credit cards are maxed out, I can't make rent next month, and the baby is due in 8 weeks. Her hand clutches her belly protectively. "I'm scared, Alex." I study her face, searching for the manipulation I've come to expect. But all I see is fear, raw and unfiltered. For a brief moment, I feel a flicker of the care I once had for her, like muscle memory activating against my conscious will. "What exactly are you asking for?" I keep my voice neutral. "Help with the medical bills, maybe a loan until I can get back on my feet after the birth." Her eyes meet mine, wide and pleading. "I know I don't deserve your kindness after what I did, but I have no one else." Before I can respond, my phone rings, Ryan's name flashing on the screen. The coincidental timing raises my suspicions immediately. "Excuse me," I say, stepping into the bedroom to take the call. "Alex?" Ryan's voice comes through, slurred and desperate. "We need to talk." "We're talking now," I reply coldly. "Megan's there, isn't she?" He laughs bitterly. "She told me she was going to beg you for money. Classic Megan working all angles." I remain silent, letting him continue. "Listen," his voice drops lower. "I'll sign whatever you want, a confession, taking full responsibility, anything. Just help her with the medical bills. Not for her, for the baby. It's not the kid's fault, its parents are fuck-ups. The crude manipulation is transparent, yet I find myself curious how far they'll go." "Are you offering to take full legal responsibility in exchange for financial support?" "Yes," he says immediately. "I'll admit everything. Just help her. She's really struggling." I end the call without responding and return to the living room where Megan sits exactly as I left her, anxiety evident in her posture. The late afternoon sun casts a golden glow across the room, highlighting the dust particles dancing in the air between us. Separate worlds no longer intersecting. "Ryan just called," I inform her. "Interesting timing." She has the grace to look embarrassed. "I told him I was coming here." "And he offered to sign a confession taking full responsibility if I help with the medical bills." Her eyes widen slightly. Genuine surprise. "I didn't ask him to do that." But you knew he would, I counter. This was coordinated, Megan. Another manipulation. She slumps further into the couch, defeat written across her features. It wasn't supposed to be like this. None of it was. I move to the window, looking out at the city below as twilight approaches. Streetlights blink on one by one, creating constellations of artificial stars across the urban landscape. For the first time in months, I feel completely clear about my path forward. I'm not giving you money, I say finally, turning back to face her. Not for the medical bills, not for rent, not for anything. Alex, please. Your child is not my responsibility, I continue, my voice firm but not unkind. You and Ryan created this situation. You'll have to find your own way through it. What about the baby? She asks, tears flowing freely now. It's innocent in all this. Yes, it is, I agree. And that's why I've already set up a college fund in the baby's name. I pause as surprise registers on her face. It's a modest amount, but it will grow over time. The account is managed by a trust with specific conditions for educational use only. Neither you nor Ryan can access the funds directly. Confusion replaces her tears. You did that? When? Last week, I admit. Because you're right, the child is innocent, but that's the extent of my involvement. I won't be part of your lives, and I won't provide ongoing financial support. Megan stares at me, struggling to reconcile this information with her expectations. I don't understand you, Alex. After everything we did, why would you do anything for the baby? Because unlike you and Ryan, I actually mean what I say. I move toward the door, a clear signal that our conversation is ending. I believe children deserve opportunities, regardless of their parents' choices. That doesn't mean I'm responsible for them. She rises slowly, one hand bracing against her lower back. So that's it, after 5 years together? That was over the moment you decided to lie about the baby, I say simply. The rest was just details. As I open the door, she pauses on the threshold, turning back to face me one last time. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not just for getting caught, but for hurting you. I study her face, the woman I once thought I would spend my life with, now essentially a stranger. I believe you, but it doesn't change anything. After she leaves, I stand in the doorway for several long moments, listening to her footsteps recede down the hallway. There's no satisfaction in her desperation, no vindication in Ryan's downfall. Just the quiet certainty that I've maintained my integrity through the storm. I close the door and turn back to my apartment. My space, my life, my future, unencumbered by lies. The evening stretches before me, peaceful and full of possibility. 6 months later, I wake to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. My new apartment in Boston faces east, catching the morning light that sparkles off the harbor in the distance. The scent of freshly brewed coffee fills the space, a programmable machine that starts automatically at 6:30 a.m., one of the small luxuries I've afforded myself in this fresh beginning. I stretch, feeling more rested than I have in over a year. The mattress is firm beneath me, supporting my back without the compromise that sharing a bed often requires. Like so many aspects of my new life, it's chosen solely for my preferences, without negotiation or concession. The move to Boston came 3 months ago, when Reynolds Biotech offered to relocate me to head their expanded research division at Massachusetts General Hospital. The opportunity aligned perfectly with my desire for a clean break. New city, new colleagues, new possibilities. Dr. Harmon had supported the transfer, recognizing the value of distance from the personal drama that had spilled into professional spaces. Your research is too important to be overshadowed by soap opera dynamics, he'd said bluntly during our final meeting. His handshake had been firm, his advice simple. Build something new. I've taken his words to heart, both professionally and personally. The morning routine has become a cherished ritual. Coffee on the small balcony overlooking the city, reviewing research notes before heading to the lab, occasional runs along the harbor when weather permits. The simplicity feels luxurious after the complicated deception that characterized my final year with Megan. My phone chirps with an email notification as I pour my second cup of coffee. The ceramic mug warms my hands as I scan the message. Confirmation of additional funding for our enhanced genetic screening research specifically focused on earlier identification of hereditary conditions. The project has become something of a personal mission, inspired by my own family history and the desire to give others clearer choices than I had. Another notification appears. A text from my mother with a photo of her and my sister at a cancer fundraising walk. They're both smiling, matching pink shirts and comfortable sneakers, my mother's arm around my sister's shoulders. "Wish you were here," the caption reads. I smile, typing a quick response, promising to make the next one. My relationship with my family has deepened since the revelation of Megan and Ryan's deception. The shared experience of betrayal, followed by their unwavering support during the public fallout, created a new openness between us. We talk more frequently now, about meaningful things rather than surface pleasantries. My mother has stopped pushing about grandchildren, understanding at last the weight of my genetic concerns. Instead, she focuses on my happiness, my health, my work. As I prepare for my day, sorting through papers at my desk, I notice the corner of an envelope peeking out from beneath a research journal. It arrived 2 weeks ago, the return address unfamiliar until I noticed the last name. Wallace. Megan's sister. I pull it out now, rereading the handwritten letter inside. "Alex, I've debated writing this for months, unsure if you'd want to hear from anyone connected to Megan after everything that happened. But I feel you deserve to know that many of us recognize how wronged you were, not just by her and Ryan, but by those of us who believed their lies without question. My family's behavior was inexcusable. The pressure they put on you, the assumptions made, the blame assigned. I'm deeply ashamed of our collective response. While I can't speak for everyone, I want you to know that I personally regret not seeing the truth sooner or standing up for basic fairness. Megan and Ryan are now co-parenting their son, James, born 3 months ago. They're not together romantically, but they're figuring out a civil arrangement for James's sake. They're both working through the consequences of their choices, as they should be. I don't expect forgiveness or even a response. I simply wanted to acknowledge that the truth matters, and to thank you for having the courage to reveal it, despite the personal cost. With respect and regret. Catherine Wallace. I fold the letter carefully and return it to the envelope. There's no anger left, no desire for further retribution or justice. The situation resolved itself in its own way, as the truth often does when finally exposed to light. My phone rings. Dr. Levin, the genetic counselor I've been consulting with about advances in managing my family's condition. The same counselor who, years ago, advised me about the risks of passing the condition to biological children. "Alex, good morning." Her voice comes through, warm and professional. "I've been reviewing the latest treatment protocols for Jansen's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and there have been significant advances since we last discussed your case." "Better than the beta blockers and monitoring?" I ask, my interest immediately engaged. "The management of my condition has been relatively straightforward, but any improvements are welcome news." "Much better," she confirms. "And the genetic testing has improved dramatically as well. The ability to screen embryos for the specific genetic marker has reached nearly 100% accuracy." My breath catches slightly. "You mean for potential parents carrying the gene? Exactly. With current IVF protocols and genetic screening, the possibility of having biological children without passing on the condition is now much more viable than when we first discussed your options. I sink into my desk chair, processing this information. The decision I made years ago, the vasectomy, the acceptance that biological children weren't in my future, had been based on the science available then. Science that has apparently continued advancing while my personal life imploded and rebuilt itself. I'm not saying you should reconsider your choices immediately, Dr. Levin continues gently. Just that you should have the most current information for whatever path you choose going forward. Thank you, I manage, my mind already racing with possibilities I'd long ago filed away as impossible. Can you send me the research papers on these advances? After ending the call, I step onto my balcony, breathing deeply of the salt-tinged air coming off the harbor. Below, the city pulses with morning activity, people commuting, jogging, walking dogs, living their interconnected lives. I am both separate from and part of this rhythm, my choices and future my own to determine. The betrayal that once defined my daily existence has faded to a dull memory, a chapter closed rather than an ongoing narrative. What remains is the person I've become through the experience, more cautious, perhaps, more self-reliant, but also more aware of my own resilience. As I prepare to leave for the lab, I pause at my desk to jot down a reminder. Research genetic screening advances. Not a commitment, not even a plan, just an acknowledgement that futures can change, that doors once thought permanently closed might still contain a sliver of light beneath them. Outside, the autumn air is crisp and clean, carrying the promise of a new season. I lock my apartment door behind me, stepping forward into a day filled with possibilities entirely of my own making.